Hi, my name is Alaska. I will be your life coach. Jack thinks it will help you to become the best person that you could ever want to be if you follow my simple steps. Check it out, yo.
Crush, kill, destroy, stress. Burn yourself alive and die and hit refresh. Get your Phoenix on.
Good morning, everybody. It is Wednesday morning. Sorry for the delay. Had a couple scheduling conflicts, but we are back on track. And I only do that because I want it to be current. I don't want you guys to hear me talking about some shit that happened 4 weeks ago. That's why I schedule people the way I do. I don't have many happenings going on this week, but I am going to see Sonnet at the Spaceland Ballroom with This May Kill You. I think that's what they're playing with. And Friday night. So come and hang out with me there. Me and Alex Connor going together. We're going on a date. It's going to be real nice. So, Hartford Denim Company, a.k.a. Hardenco, is a manufacturer of the strongest clothes available. We at Hardenco stand by that statement by backing all of our products with free repairs for the life of the garment. Made using only the highest quality materials, everything we produce is cut and sewn in our shop in Hartford, Connecticut, USA. We also specialize in the production of commercial aprons for, but not limited to, the restaurant, bar, and woodworking industries. Please see www.hardenco.com for more information. HARDENCO.com. 236 Hamilton Street, Hartford, Connecticut. Tell them you heard this ad on Breaking Bread with Ben Grimm, and they will give you 10% off your order. This episode of the podcast is brought to you by DeMichele's Barbershop and Emporium, located at 6 Kirby Road in Cromwell, Connecticut, exit 21 off of I-91. DeMichele specializes in all types of men's haircuts and hot shaves. Services are available by appointment only, which can be made conveniently online at DeMichelesBarbershop.com. That's DIMICHELES barbershop.com, or by calling 860-502-3540. There is a gentleman there working with Eli that does walk-ins, so you can also walk in if you want to get your hair cut by Kevin, I think his name is. If I'm wrong, let me know. Gift cards are available in any denomination, and they also offer my personal favorite, their own water-soluble pomade. So go get a fresh cut, a clean shave, and some awesome product, and tell them Ben sent you. DeMichele's Barbershop and Emporium, responsible barbering. The Tiny Acre Farm is a micro farm tucked away in the quiet corner of Woodstock, Connecticut, specializing in microgreens, salad greens, edible blooms, cut flowers for restaurants and specialty markets. We are a rural farm practicing urban farming techniques to bring you the highest quality hand-tended produce to some of the best restaurants in Connecticut and Massachusetts. We work with dozens of restaurants, cafes, and retailers across Boston, Worcester, Eastern, and Central Connecticut. Some of the greatest local digs you can find our produce at: Cookin' the Bear, Store and Soil Coffee Company, Goldberger's, Firebox, Division West, It's Only Natural, and OSA. So if you're a local chef or local retailer interested in using or carrying Tiny Acre produce, contact Matt via email at tinyacrebigoak, that's TINYACREBIGOAK @gmail.com, or hit us up on social media at Tiny Acre Farm. Mention this ad for 10% off your first order. They don't only do microgreens. They also have skincare line, and it's really nice. Go get yourself some sleep salve. Tell them you heard it. You can get 10% off. All right, I'm done with my sponsors for this episode. We're going to get into this podcast. I got my good bud Greg Thomas of Silver Bullet Studios. We talk a lot about, early 90s to mid 90s hardcore, growing up in Connecticut. But we do take a nice twist, and we talk about how he recorded a 25 to Life album in about 2005, 2006. And he tells the tale of Rick to Life staying at his house with his parents there for 1 week. It's a fucking laugh. It's a hoot fest. So please, ladies and gentlemen, Greg Thomas.
I break bread, break bread, break bread, break
When I was at NPR and when I did that interview online, it was almost like it was all old shit that just sounded really good.
Yeah.
And I was just like, what the fuck is going on here?
That's the thing with microphones and stuff like that, is the technology of microphones hasn't changed.
It doesn't.
Too much. I mean, there's like new things that they're trying out, but those old microphones that sounded great in the 60s and 70s still sound great today. They're still using so many of those.
They had like this box. It was like you sat around it. There was 4 stations, and they had their little things and like rack mountable things inside facing you. But it was like a big arm that went this way and that way. So if like 4 people could sit around it.
That's
so
awesome.
The lady Lucy Nalpathanchel, she just sat there and like, you know, talked to me, and I like kind of like had to look, like when I do a podcast, I want to like look at the person. When we started doing it, we'd like sit side by side, and like
It's like a telephone conversation.
yeah, you'd kind of like look at like your neck was broken. You couldn't look out the side of your fucking
Yeah.
by the side of your head. But yeah, man, thank you for helping me get this shit all in order.
Of course, you're welcome, man.
Ladies and gentlemen, I have Greg Thomas from Silver Bullet Studios here. Misery Signals also.
Yeah.
What else? What are some other accolades of yours? Let's go down the line.
There's a lot of bands. Played in a lot of bands.
You played in a lot of bands. You recorded a lot of bands.
Played in a lot of bands, recorded a lot of bands. Currently play in this band called End, which is like a new project that just launched. We just put out a record in September.
Who else is in the band? I feel like I know someone else in the band.
You might know Jay Pepito.
Yep.
From Reign Supreme and Blacklisted. He plays bass in the band. And Will Putney is the other guitarist. He's like a producer. He plays in Fit for an Autopsy, and
Okay.
he's like produced the new Every Time I Die record and done, you know, Gojira and stuff like that. He's
Okay.
a really successful producer in his own right.
Who's drumming?
This kid Andrew from this band Structures.
Okay.
So he's Canadian. He's from Toronto, and our singer's from Toronto too. He's from the band Counterparts.
Okay. It's always so fucking hard to find a drummer. Is that still true today?
Yeah.
Is that the hardest counterpart person to find?
Yeah, for sure. It's drummers are always a good drummer. Every band wants it. You know, anybody that you know that's a good drummer, they play in 5 bands at a time.
All the drummers I know are
Always.
like 5 bands. Are always going everywhere. They have to tell the other bands they can't play a show that week because they have 2 other shows with their other 5 bands.
It even happens in Connecticut. We got Ryan White, you know, from Call It Arson.
Yeah.
Awesome singer, great guitarist. Gets asked to play drums in bands constantly.
Yeah.
You know, all the time.
And why do you think that is? Is it just like something that people aren't taught at a young age? Everybody wants to play a guitar or sing.
Yeah, it's also because it's expensive.
Yeah, it's probably the
Drum
most
set's expensive, and it's breaking all the time. Cymbals are breaking, drum heads are breaking. Kids can't afford that. You know, you have to have... You're going through that stuff so fast that it's not like just having guitar strings. Changing a cymbal is like $200. Changing guitar strings is $5.
The most expendable person, though, is definitely the bass player.
Yes.
Because I was the bass player.
I mean, there's good bass players that can make bands, but often it's the friend that doesn't cut it at guitar but wants to do
So they
music.
put him on the bass, yeah.
Yeah, because it's like, oh, it's less strings, you know.
That's hilarious. Oh, poor bass players.
But a good bass player can really make a band, though. Can really make a band sound huge.
But like when you see good bass players, they're not playing hardcore. It's like dude with like 8-string or like 12-string basses, like fucking Les Claypool, like boom, 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 like going crazy, playing in like a fucking orchestra or something.
Totally, yeah. Those are the guys that are like, put me on bass for less strings. Fuck you. Here's 12. You know.
Dude, so we were talking before we hit the record button, and we were just talking about current events, and we were talking about all this crazy shit, and I said to you, and I was like, stop. We're getting through some good content right here.
Yeah.
So we're going to get back into that content at some point, but you also played in the Risk Taken.
Yep, played in the Risk Taken. Played briefly in With Honor. It's another Connecticut hardcore band. Played in Shai Hulud for a little bit.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, for a period, you know, there was a lot of drama with those guys and stuff like that too. But I played around 2006, 2007 with them. Produced one of their records.
Okay.
And then, yeah, played in just a number of... played and filled in a number of bands. I tried to add it up the other day. I've been on on stage in over 20 bands. I think 22 bands now. So it's
Playing guitar.
playing guitar.
That's insane.
Yeah,
That's awesome.
It's hard to remember sometimes because I'll be talking to friends like, "Oh, remember we used to do this band?" And I was like, "Fuck, I forgot that band."
What was the coolest band that you recorded, or like one of the coolest recording experiences, like having people come through and recording their album?
I would say one of the coolest experiences I had was recording this band called Hollow Earth, and they're from Detroit.
Love the name already because I'm a weirdo and that's all I listen to is like
They're
Hollow Earth and paranormal podcasts.
They were a really cool band because they were like a younger band, but they came through and they loved like science fiction.
Totally.
And but they wanted to make a record. They were like a hardcore band, but they wanted to turn more towards like a Neurosis style band.
Yeah.
So they were getting weird.
They wanted to be weird.
And I was like the place where they're like, we're gonna just fucking do this. And so that was a really fun experience because we watched all these movies together. I mixed part of the record down to VHS tape to get that sound of classic, like the science fiction movies that they grew up with. And
That's
like,
very cool.
it was just like a completely different experience with them because we were taking sound clips from, you know, John Carpenter movies and, you know, Alien and stuff like that. We'd take little bits from those films and mix it into like their drum beats and just try to make a really weird experimental record. So recently, you know, that was last year. That was probably one of the most fun ones that I've had.
Okay.
You know, recently.
Who's the biggest or most successful band you've ever recorded? Or when the record was finally out, the most people heard?
I would say probably either the Shai Hulud record that I did because that was on Metal Blade, so that had like a good budget, and you know, the video was on Headbangers Ball when Jamie was doing that, when that was still a thing.
Mm-hmm.
So that thing sold pretty well, and then it sounds stupid, but yeah, it's probably the two bands I played in, like Misery Singles album that I produced also.
Yep. Pretty big.
Did well for us. We did like a crowdfunding campaign to do that record, which I didn't even really want to do because I was like, it's stupid. I was like one of those like naysayers for crowdfunding for whatever reason.
You want to do it yourself. Like,
yeah. And it just, but we did that and that went really well. And the record was received pretty solidly. So I'd say those are probably the two biggest ones for me overall. Cool,
man. So along these lines of recording bands, where does the 25 to Life album fall that you recorded?
The 25 to Life album is, that's
probably bottom of the barrel somewhere.
You know, the album itself is, I gotta say, it's some of their best material for whatever reason, because he had on that record, he had Billy, who used to play guitar in Biohazard.
Oh, okay.
Played guitar on that record. So you had a real motherfucker come in on guitar.
He came up to Burlington?
Oh, yeah. There was, Billy and Rick hanging out on my couch, watching King Kong and shit like that while I'm trying to, like, make this record. That was, like, a real thing, yeah.
People don't know. This is so good. Was it your apartment?
So the studio, no. So this is even better. So I live in this apartment. I live with Jay Haas, and stuff like that. But the studio is the lower level of the house that I grew up in.
Okay.
And it kind of pays for the house. My parents still live there. It, like, allowed them to retire early. So it's like, kind of like a way of taking care of them long term, but totally. It's the lower level of my house. So these dudes are just in Burlington, Connecticut, in the sticks, in this like small suburban house.
Did your mom or your dad at any point run into Rick
absolutely
to Life?
Absolutely.
That's amazing.
Absolutely.
You know what's so fucking weird is my parents met Rick to Life back in the day. He came to my parents' house before a 25 to Life show at the Bristol skate park.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it was my mother was like, "Who is that?" I was like, "That's Rick."
I mean, my parents are so used to it at this point. My dad was an old jazz pianist, so he like would tour and travel playing music himself. So he's like,
he gets it.
Yeah, he gets it to an extent. And they're so desensitized to it because we're heading into our 15th year of doing the studio. Mm-hmm. And the studio used to not always be there. It was in Poughkeepsie, New York for a little bit. It was in Southern Connecticut. I actually moved it back to that house when they were like looking to retire. And I was like, well, I could rent this place, or I could take over paying for this house and all this kind of stuff and kind of, try to help them out was the idea of it. but they're so desensitized to it now, where they just see all these, you know,
They don't know who's
characters.
who.
We had, I mean, even yesterday we had Ryan White, who I mentioned, and Pete Morsey were there just
Oh.
yesterday, just working on some stuff. You know, they were just Ryan was doing some acoustic song, and they were hanging out. You know, and
Cool.
So there's always these characters. And then my parents,
Yeah.
you know, they don't see them too often, but they run into, you know.
That's awesome.
There's definitely a story with Rick where my mom like went and bought some water jugs for like a water cooler, and she was like carrying them in, and he saw her outside, and he's like, "Can I help you out with that?" And he went to pick up one of them, and he kind of couldn't really do it. My mom was carrying two.
What do you mean, like the ones they put on top,
Yes.
like the
Yeah.
office water
yeah.
cooler?
So they're heavy, but he was like picking it up, and he's like fumbling it, and like he got it inside, and then he went over to me, and he's like, "Yo, your mom's hard." That's what he said, because she was just carrying it like, you know, you know, it's just, you know, tough older woman, you know, and he couldn't really do it that way, you know. It was really funny.
That's amazing.
So
That's amazing. So you were present for the cutting off of his dreads.
So what? Yeah. So he came for like 3 or 4 days, and then went away for like 2 weeks or 3 weeks, something like that, and then came back. And during that time, he shaved the dreads off.
Okay.
But he came back, and he's like selling them off in coffins.
Yeah.
You remember that? So like he was talking to me about all that stuff. Like that was all brewing in his mind while I'm trying to record vocals
Yeah.
from him.
So, where did he make the coffins himself? Where did the coffins come from?
I think he made them. I'm not sure, because he didn't bring them with him. He was just telling me, he's like, I'm going to do it. I'm going to sell them off, and this is going to be cool. And I was just kind of like,
and they were like $125 a piece, right?
yeah, I don't even know how many he sold. In hindsight, I should have bought one.
He ripped a lot of people off, but Wes Icehold got one, and it's like his prized possession.
Yeah.
He ordered one. He has it at his house
That's
in
so
a little
good.
coffin. Oh, dude, that's amazing. It's so funny about all this resurgence and all the controversy surrounding him, but yet you were there when you recorded the Strength Through Unity fucking 5 or something.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I got to witness the whole thing, and it was crazy because he was getting like, you know, he came in, he didn't really have face tattoos.
Yeah.
That's another thing he did. Like at the same time, he was starting to get all the tattoos on his face, same time period. So he would like show up to do vocals or whatever, and he's freshly tattooed on his cheek or whatever, you know, something like that. So I got to see it all happening. He thought, I mean, it seemed like paranoia was hitting him because he thought all these people were coming to get him.
Yeah.
And the seed was there when we started work on the record, but it was like blossoming. I mean, in all fairness, there probably were people coming to get him, I guess, you know, but like he was starting to.
Well, when you don't send people their records.
Classic.
That's hilarious.
The thing I will say, I kind of mentioned this before we even started this. He paid me in a check.
Yep.
You know, Rick Healy check. I took a picture of it because that's, you know, it's a rare thing. You see a Rick Healy check. And he wrote, I remember he wrote in the description, classic. He wrote in the for section, he wrote 4 record 25 yo. Like yo was just right in on the check.
Yo, when he starts his Facebook rants, it always starts with yo.
Yeah, it's just like he didn't even realize like it's like a period to him.
Yeah.
Like the yo is just in there, you know? And so he paid in a check, and when he handed me the check, I was kind of like,
fuck.
I was like, all right, this is pro bono. You know, I grew up loving, you know, Strength Through Unity was a classic record. You know, I was like, okay, whatever. Like I was pretty early on in my career, and I was like, okay, I'm obviously this is not going to work. And then the check cleared. I got the money. I was really surprised. I was like, either way, it's gonna be worth it because I could frame this, put this in the studio. You know,
if it doesn't,
check, But it cleared, and then not to throw one of our friends under the bus. But Brian Bolito, do you know Brian Bolito?
I do know Brian.
Brian's great. Brian, that same time period also paid me in a check. Brian's check bounced.
Fuck.
So I bring that up to him all the time.
Did he make good on it though?
Yeah, he did.
Okay,
he did
good.
for sure. And he paid the fee. Yeah, he paid the fee. But he something happened. Classic. You know, if anybody listening knows Brian, he's always has like bad luck, or it seems like his life's going really good right now, but he had like bad luck after bad luck.
Yeah.
So he like paid me in a check, then he like dropped his phone in the toilet that weekend, and then he like went, he's like, "Wow, I have more money in my bank account than I thought. I'm going to buy a new phone." And then like, you know, a couple of days later, I was like, "Brian, your check bounced." He's like, "Oh
Yeah,
fuck, that's what the
'cause I
money
bought my
for."
phone.
Yeah, totally. So Rick's check passed, but Brian Bolito, you know.
And before we started recording, we were talking about like before he kind of like, you know, took this whole spiral descent then into his own hysteria. Like the dude was actually a good guy at one point, and his heart was in the right place.
Yeah, I really do think his heart was in the right place. I think he was really good. Like even just being at the house, he wanted to like, and this sounds funny, it's almost like, you know, Rick to Life on a Horse stuff, but he wanted to like help out around the house. And when we're not recording, he's like doing, you know, whatever out in the yard. You know, he's just like trying to help. He's like trying to, you can tell that he's a good guy, but there's definitely, you know, some kind of mental health struggle in there, you know.
He doesn't, and it's only because it went unchecked.
Yeah.
I'm sure if he took care of himself at one point, he'd still be like
Yeah.
pretty regular. And we were talking about that because I said like he introduced me to so many people, like hardcore icons, like Dwid, like Freddie from Madball, Ezak, fucking the fucking everybody in fucking Mouthpiece,
Yeah.
and fucking Throwdown, and like every band that came around and played with him at a show, if we didn't know him, we knew them after that night because he'd be like, "Yo, this is my boys," and they like I'm like 17 at the time.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's so many kids now. Like people ask me about the 25 to Life record. If they're a younger hardcore band and they're coming in and they look at the website and they see it's on, you know, it's listed on the, you know, got the album cover right there.
Mm-hmm.
So they see it, they'll be like, "You recorded 25 to Life?" Because it's like he's like this like internet.
He's almost like it's almost like a
living meme or something at this point.
No, it's like it's what the hell is it? It's like he's almost like a fantasy, like this apparition.
Yeah,
like
you're right. Yeah, you're right.
This thing that'll live on.
and it's hard. And I try to explain to some of the younger people. I was like, you know, he introduced you to hardcore icons because he was a hardcore icon,
Hanging out
for
with-
a period of time.
Yeah,
like
hanging out with other ones.
Like 25 to Life was a big deal in what 95. Like
Yeah.
they had like 1 or 2 years where it was like,
They went all over the world.
yeah, absolutely. So he was that guy. And it's been a long time since that now, you know.
Yeah.
I don't know if he's still doing shows. I know 25 to Life played without him.
Yes.
But I don't know if he's still, like, if there's 2 25 to Lifes now.
No, he was gonna start this band called American Uprising with that dude Tommy Dice. Do you know
Okay.
who that is?
No.
Cause it's probably the best that you don't. It's just not
The
really
name
good.
sounds familiar.
Yeah, it's just like he was from Boston. I don't really know much about him, but we were all involved in a group chat with him and Tommy Dice for a good 7 days until it kind of, you know how they kind of die off.
Yeah.
But yeah, dude, he was just posting like fucking all his merch and shit. And then we're like, dudes are like, "Rick, where are you at? You haven't said anything all day." And he wrote back, "Coffee break, Nimrod." So
Talking to him was like, recording vocals for him was really interesting. You know, trying to like get him on time. I was trying to help him, you know, like structure the songs and stuff like that. But the way he talks like that all the time. There's no like act. Like he is just like everything is like yo like the way he talks online is him in person all the time.
I remember like having
Yeah.
conversations with him, and it was very hard to follow. Like as a young, like he was very hood, and I
Yes.
think that's carried over to his adult life.
Yep.
He's got to be shit. He's got to be 50.
Yeah.
He's
I would
got to
say
be
so.
50. He's got to be, because I was, Yo, the funny thing about it though, when we were younger, he always had some hot girl with him, and he would like introduce us to the girl, and she'd be like sweet to us all night, and then he'd leave, and we'd like friend the girl on fucking Friendster or something. It was so stupid. It was just so strange, and it's so funny. Like, you know how people in their career will do something dumb to be relevant again?
Yeah.
It's like he's never done that. It's always like rainbowed through the years. Like, it's always been like that, dude. It's so crazy. That's funny, man. That's a good piece of history that not many people might have known.
Yeah.
You know?
It was, I mean, I got to say, like, overall, working with him and doing that record, even though he was going through all that, was an enjoyable experience.
Yeah.
You know, I was like a little nervous going into it, and then there was all sorts of drama with him and everybody in Connecticut during that record, pretty much. Like, I don't even know what happened, but I know that like we were talking to Jay Reason, you know, one of our friends.
What was his involvement?
So he came and sang on one of the songs.
Really?
You know, he came and did vocals in the song. But
Is
then
it
all of a sudden,
released?
like, yeah, it's on that record.
Oh, okay.
And then all of a sudden, they're like hating on each other online, like during the thing. And
They turned on each other.
They turned on each other. We hadn't finished the album yet, you know, or it didn't come out yet. So I
That's
wasn't
awkward.
sure. I was like, do I leave this on? Do I, whatever? And people were trying, you know, they wanted to like, I don't know. I don't know if people were going to try to find him and fight him or whatever. And I
Were
remember,
you afraid that there would be retribution brought against Rick at your house?
a little, yeah, a little. I remember messaging a couple guys and being like, this is happening. And kind of making sure it's like all this is going on online, but like, can I just finish this record?
Yeah.
And like this is my job. You
Let
know what I
me
mean?
do this.
Can I do my job and then whatever, you know, hopefully it blows over or whatever. But because he was also, I got to say this too. He was there during the first Obama election.
Yep.
And I went and voted at my town hall with him. So, I was still registered to vote in Burlington at the time. So I go to the Burlington Town Hall, and I got Rick in full mode. He's dreadless and everything now and all this shit. He just wanted to go with me.
Yeah.
For what, you know, he just didn't want to be, you know. So he rode with me. I'm walking into the town hall, and he goes, shit, I probably shouldn't go in there. And I was like, what do you mean? You can, you know,
You're good.
It doesn't matter. You don't have to go to the ballot with me, but you can walk into this building. And he's like, no, man, I shouldn't do it. I was like, why? He's like, I'm armed. And I was like, oh. And he's like, I'm heavily armed. I was like, okay. All right, cool. Well, then you just stay here. And, you know, I went in, voted, came out. He's on his, like, flip phone at the time, and he's screaming at somebody. And all these, like, just town people are trying to walk into the thing, and he's got some huge bright orange jacket, and I think he had like 2 guns on him, knife. He might have even had some kind of explosive. Like, he was like fucking ready to go. Like, swear to God. So like, yeah, he didn't want to walk in case they were like a metal detector or anything, because he's, you know, but that's how paranoid he was.
I can't take it.
So he was just ready to go some shit. He's good. You know, he's going out and explode. I don't even fucking know.
Dude,
So,
it's so funny, man. Like, I don't want this to I want this podcast to be about you, but however, the content will be spread around thousands of people. Dude, it's so funny because, like, you know Joe that puts on This Is Hardcore?
yeah.
They like they have like a beef, and Joe went to his house and took a picture outside of his house like at like 3 a.m. with like 4 of his friends or whatever.
Yeah.
And then that's how the whole like group chat started, right?
Okay.
And then I just saw yesterday a Facebook invite somebody took a picture of, and Joe Hardcore made an event to sing Christmas carols outside of his house on Christmas Eve. So all these people are gonna like show up to his condo or wherever he lives in fucking Baltimore and sing Christmas carols. It's just crazy, man.
He's such a character. He's, you know, there's no one like him in hardcore. And hardcore is like,
There's a lot of different people.
there's a lot of colorful characters in
Dude, you
hardcore.
can be super like you can be totally off your fucking rocker, drug addict, hardcore person, or you can be like hardcore dude that has like a fucking PhD, because we know both those kind of
yeah.
people, and he falls somewhere in the middle. You know?
Yeah, it's just such an interesting. See, he's a very like compelling character, and you know, he says a lot of stuff that he shouldn't.
Yeah,
Obviously, it goes
of
on
course.
these tangents that are ridiculous. And you're like, what? Where are you even coming from? But you you know, it really is a guy that's struggling from mental health.
Yeah.
You know, stuff, which
And
is like,
it's really hard for me because like that's what I work in, and like ethically, like I wouldn't make fun of somebody with a mental disability.
Of course.
However, I don't know if he has one per se officially.
Yeah.
And I've known the guy for like my whole life. Dude, I went to the fucking Agnostic Front like documentary the other night that Ian McFarlane did. And it was amazing. We'll get back. We'll get
I'm
into
excited
that.
to see that.
We'll get into that in a minute. But like, we all went to a bar afterwards, and it was all these people hanging out, all these like fucking like, you know, hardcore and punk icons, right?
Yeah.
And I'm leaving the bar. I'm there with like a bunch of people. I'm there with Pete, and I'm there with like a bunch of other guys. And I told him I was going to leave, and we're going to go to a different restaurant because this one was real packed. I'm walking down the bar, and I feel like a hand reach out and grab me, and it's Ian from Heavy Chains and fucking what's his name, fucking dude that sings for Murphy's Law, fucking fuck, I just said his name the other day.
Jimmy.
What do they call him? Jimmy Gestapo.
Yeah.
And they both reach out to me and grab me, and like I know who they are, but I've never had a conversation with them, and they were like, yo, that group chat was gold. And I didn't know that they were in it, and I was just like, thanks guys. Because we were talking about, I was like, who's gonna make that documentary?
That,
you know what I mean?
oh my God. Yeah, because it's, you know, it's tragic, it's funny, it's all the spectrums that you want a documentary to have.
Yeah.
Really, you know, it's a tough thing. Like you're saying, it's like you don't want to make fun of a guy like that, or you know, but at the same time, there's just so
It's
much
hard
shit you
not
can
to.
say and
Yeah.
do where you're just like, fuck, man, like, you know, like it's because he, in my experiences with him and working with him, was great. He was great. He paid. The check cleared. I really don't have any issue. He never, outside of, obviously you have to have issue with anybody that's saying some white power shit.
Yeah.
That shit can get fucked. But like,
And it's totally crazy because
I don't even know if he understands what he's saying.
It's very weird because some days he'll write like white pride worldwide. And like I said before, then the next day he's calling out people, calling them Nazi scum. And it's just like, that's an indicator right there of some sort of like cognitive disability.
When Obama won, he was cheering in my house, cheering. He's like, this is the change we need. We need to give the minorities a voice. Like he was like excited about it.
Wow.
You know, after not going into the town hall because he was armed to the teeth. You know, later in that night, the night swung up for him a little. But he was really excited about it. And he was like very kind of with it in that moment, at least in terms of, you know, regardless of anybody's like political affiliation, you know, left, right, whatever. It is cool to see, you know, people minority getting into things like that. That's great. So he understood that, but then, you know, posting whatever. Yeah, it's hard. You make yourself into a target with shit like that.
You can like laugh at everything all day, but once the tide turns to that, it's kind of like, okay, we see what's going on now.
Yeah,
and then you don't really feel bad when somebody gets
yeah,
because that's what they got coming to them.
Yeah, because that's shit you just can't have tolerance for that shit. And
totally
like,
not.
You know, and honestly, like all the like white power shit, all the KKK guys, you know, like what, probably like 90% of those guys all have mental health. That's just shit's just so fucked up and like out of like it's just not a reasonable perspective.
Neglected as a child.
Yeah, exactly.
And needing to be part of a group.
Yeah,
you know,
so
and that's the only people that would take them in. That's what I think a lot of it has to do with.
Do you think that's something with Rick, like that he had hardcore and then hardcore basically, you know, he's not involved much, so any group that would
rejected him
kind of like any group that would take him in, then maybe he's getting wrapped up into something like that, you know?
You never know, but dude, I'm telling you, man, like we should start a Kickstarter for that.
Yeah.
We'll pay Ian McFarlane to do that fucking documentary. But anyways, that documentary was fucking like, there's good music documentaries and then there's good documentaries, and it was one of those.
Nice.
It was like it was like anything that you'd see on like HBO or some shit like that, dude. It was big.
I've been following Ian's work for years because he does like music videos and things like that. And his like,
it was better than any music video he's ever made. It was
Nice.
that good, dude. It was so
he's
good.
talented. He's very talented. He's been talented for a while, so I'm sure.
And you know when you watch like a good documentary, how it'll hit you in all the different ways. There was definitely a part in the documentary, I don't know if they were talking about like Roger's heart or like something to do with his kids or something. But dude, I got choked up. I straight up got choked up, like emotional.
Yeah.
But then like 5 minutes later, there's like a fucking scene of like Vinny Stigma like hopping from roof to roof with the camera people telling them to like watch their step, and the place is like losing it laughing. So he could do both. It was like going both ways. It was super serious, super heartfelt, and then there was just parts where you're like, dude, this is hilarious. And
That's great.
it was a small theater, man. It was probably like a theater that you would go to around here, like an AMC or like one of the fucking like movie theaters, probably like
Yeah.
about Probably-
Real Artways or something like that.
no, it was probably about a regular movie theater, as wide but as half as deep. So it probably
Okay.
fit like half the amount of people.
Yeah.
And it was good, dude. It was at SVA. It was fucking great. And I don't know. Somebody said it might be going to Amazon, and that probably would be a good look for him because it will be like, you know,
Yeah.
it'll be taken very well. I loved it. It's one of those movies that I would see again, and like you don't really watch documentaries twice. Like you watch your favorite movies twice. You
Yeah.
don't really watch a documentary
Yeah,
twice.
you take in the information.
You take in the information,
Yeah.
and that's it. You know. But yeah, dude, I would watch it again. It was that good.
That's awesome. I hope that it comes out, it's received well, and then people start doing more documentaries like that. Because
They should.
I noticed on listening to one of your previous episodes when you're talking to Chris and stuff like that, Chris Grasso, about how trying to describe hardcore to regular people or something like that. There's nothing like hardcore in the world.
It was so funny because they had footage of like them in like 82, 84, like as young kids and shit. And they were like this like lady with her hair teased up, just looking like mad 80s-ish with a microphone, asking them, interviewing them, like what kind of music do you play? And they didn't say hardcore, they didn't say anything. They were like, you just got to come and watch. And I was just like, dude, that's perfect. That's
Yeah,
totally
that is
perfect. It was so awesome, dude. It was like it brought you through like the history, and it would show like rabies drumming, and then it would interview him. And dude, the dude's a kid. They're all kids at the time. And then it like, I don't know where they got all this old footage. Like Ian didn't like have that. This is like found footage that he used. Like this is like old shit. And then he put like his shit with it and like followed him around and made it like a modern film.
That's great,
It
man.
was so cool, man. I forget, it wasn't CB, it was before CBGBs. There was this other really, really like low profile club, and it was like, dude, it was like somebody's kitchen, and like they're just like rabies is like playing drums with like somebody like standing like right next to him, and they're just
fucking
going
awesome.
off, and then they would go through like the history of all the members that came and went, Maddie Henderson and shit.
Yeah,
like
yeah.
It was so cool. It was so cool. Yeah, like it'll be out. You can like, I know you'll like it.
Yeah. That's I gotta say, like one of an early experience in hardcore for me when I was playing the brief period of time I did play in With Honor. We played with Roger's other band, The Disasters.
Yep.
Remember them? And we played with them on our first tour. This is like 2002, so I'm still pretty young. I'm 20 or whatever at the time, so 19 maybe. And we play with him. We do a couple shows with him, and he like watched our set, and he was like, it was into it. And then he asked us to play, at Agnostic Front's like whatever anniversary. It was like their 20th anniversary show at CBGB's, which was exactly at the end of our tour. And it was
Yep.
with Murphy's Law and Death Threat, and it was like that might be one of the most fun or important shows of my life.
Yeah.
Like truthfully, like being asked by him to play that show at CBGB's, first time I ever played there, and just being like, 19, maybe even 18, I don't know, and going and doing that at the end of like one of my first tours. That's when I decided to like leave school, because I was going to school full time to be a math teacher, and I was like, fuck it, I'm doing hardcore, I'm doing
find
music, I'm doing everything, and like, so that was just like a pivotal moment in my life, was to do that show and to see that and experience that and everything like authentically. And I can't imagine how many lives a band like that would have affected for their entire career.
If
You know.
you're into hardcore and you don't like Agnostic Front, there's something wrong, because you gotta at least
Yeah.
respect the
Absolutely.
history. You know what I
Absolutely.
mean? Like, I could see you being in some, like, somebody being in some weird metal band that just didn't give a fuck about hardcore. But like, if you know the story, you know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
And add 2 more people onto the list that Rick to Life has introduced me to: Roger Mayer and fucking Vinny Stigma.
Nice.
I talk to Vinny to this day. Every time I see him, I say hi, and he remembers exactly who I am because we're both Steelers fans.
Nice.
Dude, I played a weird like rap show at Lupo's in Providence.
Yep.
For like, it wasn't a Black and Blue Bowl, but it was a weird like DMS rap show.
Mm-hmm.
And they like asked us to come play, me, Tim Wiggins, and this other dude that was in our group at the time. And I remember Vinny was going, they just had Vinny with him. Like, Ezek had brought Vinny with him, and he was just like hanging out.
Yeah.
And he was bringing people up on stage and introducing them to the crowd before they rapped. And I mean, like, people that were lower on the bill than us, like weird, like dudes from like Providence.
Yeah.
And then I remember I get in the back and Vinny's like, "Yo, what's the name of your band?" And I was like, "The Misery Crew." He's like, all right. And then we go out, and he like grabs the mic, and he's like, "Ladies and gentlemen, Big Benny and the Miseries." I was like, what the fuck? That was a pivotal moment
Yeah.
for me. Yeah.
Yeah,
Nobody
you-
can ever say that.
Yeah, you're just like, all right,
Okay.
that's what it is now.
That's what we are now. Fuck
That's
it.
what it is.
Dude, it was so fucking funny. But yeah, like I saw Agnostic Front multiple times, but the best time I ever saw them was, remember the upstairs of Pearl Street?
Yeah. Yeah.
Remember that, like,
Yeah.
bigger stage?
Yep.
Remember going to shows there on like Friday nights, but if you snuck upstairs, it was like a dance party with all hot Puerto Rican girls?
Yeah, which is, yeah.
Dude, we used to go up there, and the bouncers would let all of us in, but we'd have to take our hats off. And we would just go to like a fucking 2x4 integrity fucking hate breed show, and then we'd walk upstairs.
End up at the dance
and
party.
ends up at
yeah.
the dance party. I saw them upstairs, and then when Hatebreed recorded the Perseverance video in New York at some weird club, they like invited all those guys to come, and we were like shooting this one like section in a stair, like on the stairs, like looking down.
Yeah.
And like they wanted us to all like do certain moves at certain times, and like hand movements, and like sing along. And you know John Luciano, right? Chano?
Yeah, of course, yeah.
Chano thought it would be a great idea to just jump on top of everybody like he was stage diving, and I saw him kick Roger right in his face.
Oh,
and
fuck.
Roger didn't even get mad, and I felt bad for him. I felt so
Jesus.
bad. But yeah, like I didn't see them that much. I've definitely seen Madball more than I've seen Agnostic Front, but I think I've seen him like 3 or 4 times.
Yeah, I think I've seen him 2 or 3 times now, maybe more. Definitely seen Madball more, because Madball was playing here.
Yeah, like
All
when
the
we
time.
were in our like
Yeah,
like,
all the time.
all over, fucking Max Alunas in Plainville.
Yeah,
the
Jesus.
fucking Sports Palace.
Yeah.
Dude, bring me back, bro. Bring
Classic.
me back. I
Classic.
love it. What was your favorite show of that era when we were younger?
So this wasn't too. I mean, there was a lot of shows that really stuck with me. This one was a little later, at the Hanover House, but one of my favorite shows ever was it was SOD, Converge, All Out War, One King Down.
Okay.
And just because it was already like I was already deep into hardcore at that point, because Hanover House is a little later than Tune In and stuff like that.
It was after.
You know, after that. But the fact that like I remember like Jamie had set it up and it was like a secret show or whatever. But I remember just like I was like, how is he getting like SOD? I thought was just so big. You know, it's this guy's from Anthrax, and you know, I got into hardcore through metal. That was my route was through metal first. And because you know everybody's either from punk or from metal, pretty much getting into hardcore somehow. And I just thought it was such a big deal to see them at the Hanover House. You know, fucking I don't even remember what the cap of that room was. 100 maybe.
Wasn't that much? No.
Who knows? You know, but to see that show and then even thinking back to that, like Converge, One King Down, when they had Rob singing the Bloodlust Revenge stuff, and
I saw
All Out
him,
War and everything. That was just every band at their like peak.
Yeah.
Just fucking killing it. So that was one of my favorites. That just sticks with me because it's 4 bands, just 4 awesome bands.
Yep. That was a good one. For me, like at the time, like I wouldn't like, I'm not into it now, but at the time, I think it was like an Earth Crisis, Earth Mover, Hatebreed, Cornerstone Fast Break show.
Nice.
At the Bike Exchange, and Earth Crisis headlined.
I think I saw a video of that. How many times did Earth Crisis play CTs? Was that like...
It was either 1 or 2.
Yeah, so I've seen video of that. I think somebody posted recently.
It's the one where it's like a sea of people.
Yeah.
And they beat up that dude's dad.
Yeah.
There was that
Yeah.
show.
Yep.
Okay. So I just remember just being like, just imagine, when there's like a show and then there's just a select few dudes in the middle that are moshing.
Yep.
Take everyone in the whole place. Like, imagine you could take over their bodies remotely and make them mosh. Like, it was like you made everyone mosh, and it was just like a real crazy sight to see.
Fuck yeah.
It was awesome. And then that guy fucking was like drunk or something. He was like standing in the middle of the dance floor, and he was like had a cigarette, and he like looked at Carl and he put it out in his hand. And I just remember that dude just being on the receiving end of some vegan vengeance. But
I wasn't at that show, but I would have loved to have seen that. I didn't see Earth Crisis till I caught them later, like 98 or something at the LNG or something like that. Was the first time I saw them.
What was Scott Vogel's band before Buried Alive?
Starts with a D. Shit.
They played there a lot, and I remember really enjoying that. Oh, fuck, why can't I remember?
Yeah, it's
God damn it, I hate when I do this.
yeah, we're flowing it here.
Well, I remember that being a really good show. I remember getting a huge hematoma on the back of my head because I went to go dive off the ramp, and I did one of those things where like you hit half the crowd with the lower half of your body and you just smash your fucking
Done.
head. Yeah, totally done. I remember a lot of good shows at the Tune-In. I remember a Strife show I went to the Tune-In that was like...
Is that the one on that? They had a DVD or a VHS. and
Where his head is cut.
Yeah.
He's bleeding.
Yep.
Yeah. I saw Neglect at the Bike Exchange, and that was the one where he like bit the root beer can and cut his face all up while he was singing
Fuck,
on
man.
some fucking Gigi Allen shit.
Does that shit still happen in hardcore that much
No.
anymore?
Dude,
I feel
people
like
in
that
hardcore-
element of danger. It's like,
Gone.
yeah, you almost. There's fucking great hardcore bands right now. Actually, I think like hardcore's like got some really cool bands coming back, and things are doing better than it's been for a little bit.
Yeah.
But that said,
It
doesn't seem like it's as dangerous, and you don't see that kind of full room moshing, or even I remember. I mean, you obviously remember stuff like this, but even like my old like first bands that are like metalcore, whatever at the time. But I remember even some of our first shows, we'd have these like full room fights.
Yeah.
I don't remember the last time I've been to a show that had like a full, like the Waterbury VFW, where there's like 50 people fighting.
Yeah.
But like that doesn't happen anymore, does that?
I think it doesn't happen that much more. It definitely does here and there, but if it does, it gets like extinguished pretty quickly because
Now there's like legal.
I think
People actually follow legal shit, whereas before it was like the Wild West.
dude,
it
in
was gonna
fucking
sue you.
1994, like no one had a fucking camera on their phone.
Yeah.
That's why. Now everybody in the crowd does, and if you do some shit, somebody's gonna see
Get it, yeah.
And that's why a lot of people are and that's how dudes do get in trouble and go to jail. I got a lot of people that went fucking to jail over some dumb shit they did at a hardcore show.
Yeah, and you get it on somebody's phone or whatever.
But we
yeah.
we were in the fucking the lawless like Wild West.
Dude,
days.
that's how I describe it. It's hard to meet somebody that didn't grow up with hardcore or something like that, and you try to explain what it's like. Because I wasn't like much of a fighter at all myself, but man, there's just no way to go to hardcore shows in the 90s and just not be involved in that.
in some
Almost
sort of
like every other show.
yeah.
You know?
Yeah, I remember going to my high school, and there were only, out of the whole high school, there was literally only me, my brother, Chauncey Johnson, and our friend Ronnie, and our friend Ryan, who were the only like every show hardcore goers.
Yeah.
And you got to figure how many kids are in one fucking high school.
Oh yeah, my high school. I mean, I had.
You might have been the only one, if not
I had
one other.
I had Sean Martin, the other Sean Martin.
Mm-hmm.
So I had him and maybe one other kid, Bill Ross.
Okay.
You know, so like it was like the three of us.
Mm-hmm.
That's it out of a whole high school.
Wow.
You know, so
And you got to figure like the sticks. There might be no kids in the hardcore like
Yeah.
back in the day, and like maybe in like a city like New York City, there was probably a couple people, like more people, but like it all depends like where you're at.
it was
where
just
the
such a
bands are
different
at.
thing. It was almost like fucking like Fight Club or something like that too.
Yeah,
'Cause
you
you
had
couldn't
to-
even tell people about this shit. Like you
No.
couldn't explain it really.
No, you couldn't. Like you couldn't like come home and tell your mother what had happened that night.
Yeah, like my friend's got a footprint in his face. We were, you know, he fell down into his own shoes. You know.
I definitely. I remember going to a show at the Tune In back in the day, and you remember when you like would park around the corner in like that gravel lot.
Yeah.
It was like take like a left on the left out the
Yeah.
door. And I remember the Ringling Brothers Barnum and Bailey Circus was in town, and they were playing at like the New Haven Coliseum, and there was that gravel lot, and there was a dude there selling tickets for $5 to park. And I was just like, fuck it. And I gave him $5. I parked my mother's fucking Topaz
Yeah.
and fucking went into the show. And I saw millions of other kids parking their cars there, paying this guy $5 and coming into the show. So show lets out. We're all fucking, you know, sweaty as hell. Fucking just had like an awesome, like, you
Yeah.
know, awesome time. And we're all walking back to the parking lot. And I'm like walking down the street, and I could see the parking lot like a couple hundred yards away. And there's like, I can't see any cars. I'm just like, what the fuck happened here? And I like get all the way up to it, and there's a one car left, and a tow truck is taking it. And like all these people like start to form at like the sidewalk, like what the fuck? And somebody called the police, and the cop showed up, and he's like, yeah, we got reports. It was like a local fucking dude selling tickets to park here, and he wasn't like, they weren't real. This is parking for the
Fuck, man.
this was parking for the circus, and anybody that didn't have like one of their parking things got their car towed. Yo, there was literally like 20 or 30 of us that got our car towed. And I'm like, what the fuck? I literally like was 17. Like
Yeah. What do you even do?
I had to
at
have
that
my mom's
point?
car back. I had to have her car back.
You don't have a cell phone at that point.
No.
You don't have
No.
any shit. You probably don't have a credit card. You don't have any. you know,
Nothing.
you're not gonna have like $200 or whatever to get your car.
Someone, I don't know if someone had a cell phone, like one of the older people, or if we like stopped into like a gas station or like a restaurant and used their phone, but we found out where the cars were, like the tow company. And by the time that it was all said and done, they were done for the night. They weren't like picking up the phone.
Holy shit.
So we walk all the way down Whaley Ave, right? And we find it. And it's dark as hell. And there's just a big ass parking lot in the back with everybody's cars in it. And we're just like, what the fuck do we do? There's like 30 of us walking down to like fucking into the hood, right? So I fucking jump. We like shake on the fence and make sure there's like no dog.
Yeah.
And like there was no dog, so like I jump over the fence, and it's just like one of those long fences, like two come together like this.
Yep.
And there's like nothing in the middle, like no stake. It just comes together and you latch it, and there's this big ass lock on it, right? And I just go over and I fucking have my mom's keys, and I start her car, and I move it towards the fence, and I just go like, "Rrr, rrr," and I'm like pressing on the fence, and everybody's like, yeah, man, do it. Rrr. And all of a sudden it snapped the lock, and the car went through, but the fucking gate flew and came back and broke my mom's blinker. Okay. So
Is this the same car that Slayer drove?
same exact fucking Topaz. Yes. So Mercury Topaz. So everybody's like, oh, thanks, Ben. They all get their cars. We fucking leave. I lived in Bristol at the time. Okay.
Yeah.
I go home, told my mom, like there was like the blinker still worked, but the glass was cracked. And then there was like a little bit of damage to the paint.
Yeah.
My mother didn't even see it at first. So I parked the car, go to bed, woke up the next morning, went to high school. I come back from my day of high school, and I fucking walk into my driveway to a fucking New Haven police car in my driveway.
Oh shit.
I'm just like, what the fuck? So I go in and my dad is sitting there having coffee with the cop. And the cop just looks at me and goes, "Hey, Ben." And my dad's like, this guy wants to talk to you. So he's like, "We heard about what happened last night, you know.
Yeah.
The guy that owns the tow company is pretty pissed off because that was like $100. Back then it was like $100 to get your car. Now it's like $180.
Yeah.
He was like, that was $100 times like 20 or 30 that you like let people out, you know. And I was like, listen, man, I told him all about the guy selling the fake parking tickets. He goes, we found out, like, we know. And the guy with the tow company found out. He's just pissed about his fence and his lock. And he's like, the fence is fine, but you sprung and broke the lock. So if you get that same lock and you bring it down to him, there won't be any charges pressed. And I was like, okay. So like, dude, I literally had no money. My dad had to give me money for this heavy duty ass lock.
Yeah.
Cost like $30. And I drove back down that night and I met the guy and he like yelled at me and shit.
Ah,
like
Jesus.
took the lock and fucking left.
Yeah, but you were a fucking hero. You saved all your
Dude,
friends.
such a hero. But no one
Thousands.
no one was going to give me money
Saved
for that
Connecticut
lock.
Hardcore thousands of dollars. That's fucking great.
Dude, there are so many of those fucking stories.
That shit. See, that stuff wouldn't happen anymore. There's
not now.
cameras everywhere.
No,
There's
you get
just
arrested
like,
in the middle of doing
yeah.
it.
Yeah. I mean, would people even like? Maybe I'm just out of the loop with this shit, but would they even like give you a chance to replace the lock, or they just
Hell
jumped
no.
up pressing charges and shit like that?
I'd
now?
go to prison.
Yeah,
Somebody would have had to bail me out of like going to the prison for a weekend or something.
Yeah, so I mean, things were just different. I mean, you know, everybody say that times always change and stuff like that, but that was a fun time period.
I'm glad to have had a part of it. And I know a lot of older guys that like were doing shit like that like for a few years before, like Pete, like Ian from Dismay, and like all those older guys, you know what I mean? And they got to see like all the shit at the Anthrax, and like I came in
The true Wild West.
Dude, I came in on like the tail end of that. I think like when I started going to shows in like 93, they either just closed their doors or they had like one last show, and I never made it down there. But like those shows were like, dude,
That was the real thing. That's when all the like the first, second generation bands were.
all those bands like Gnostic Front, Token Entry, Youth of Today, fucking Warzone, like, and like all before that, like all the crazy like oi bands from before that. That's where they played, and that's the only regret I have is not getting
Not
into
seeing
it.
that. I wish I spent more time at the Tune-In. I only went to a few shows that were more like punk oriented at the time. Who was the guy that owned the Tune-In? What was that guy? Classic.
Fernando.
Fernando. Yeah.
I know a friend of ours who's actually incarcerated right now. He followed Fernando home one night after like, because they used to do raves there.
Yeah.
And he followed Fernando home, and like I guess he walked in like walking distance, or he knew where he lived, and he sat on his porch, and when he walked up, he stuck him up with one of those like handheld crossbows that you could buy out of like
Jesus.
Soldier and Fortune magazine.
Holy shit. It's fucking crazy.
Yeah, that dude was a scumbag. Like he had that stupid little like glass case in the front where you could like buy like demo tapes, but he also was a merch like dubber. He would like make his own.
Yeah, he had his own like distro or whatever. What was he? He was in like a crust band too, right?
I think so. I can't remember the fucking name of it.
Yeah, I was not even sure.
I just remember that bathroom was just like insane. Like covered in like marker and paint graffiti.
I mean, those kind of like, you think even like, you know, the bathroom there, obviously the bathroom at CBGB's was fucking legendary. Like, are there even bathrooms at venues that are that fucked up anymore?
No.
There's like, you
No.
know, health code shit now where they like keep up, you know.
They could never do that, dude. I remember having to go to the bathroom at CBGB's one day and I like couldn't do it.
Yeah, no, it's still legendary.
It's
but
like the toilet was like melted, it looked like.
Yeah,
It was
totally.
fucking horrible.
Yeah.
Dude, that's so fucking funny. Yeah, I remember I went to a really cool Overcast show there, and they played with a band called Walleye. Do you remember that?
At CB's or at the
No,
Tune-In?
at Tune-In.
Okay.
Yeah, and I remember the CBGB's, the floor was like ripped up. Like the wood was like,
Yeah.
looked like it was coming apart, and like like you'd fall on the floor and get like 10 splinters in your arm if you fell on the floor.
Yeah, that's shit. I wish I got to. I only went to CB's maybe 5 or 6 times or something like that. Tune in a couple times. The real places where I like cut my teeth at shows were CT's skate park. You know, because as I grew up in Burlington, so right, some of the town over from Bristol. So yeah, it was the easiest to get to. And then like all the VFW, there was like the New Hartford Grange.
Did you ever go to Studio 184?
No.
182 or whatever that was?
No.
I remember going like one time and then
Where
it shut down.
was that?
It was in stores, I think.
Yeah, I didn't. Yeah,
I saw a Converge show there, I think. I can't really remember. And this is like way, way back. But remember when you went to a show and it was just like a fucking like yoga sweat lodge? Like you were covered in liquid. Like if you didn't leave the like you could wring your shirt out.
Every time, middle of the winter.
You could still go to the Wallingford Amlag and have that experience.
I'm glad that place is doing shows again.
Yeah, they a bunch of kids like got together and like took it back, and
I think that's awesome.
They do all kinds of shit there now. We in the summer we pull like a grill up and we have like our friends like cook and like it's cool.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Like, I'll rarely go inside because of that heat issue and being like an older asshole.
Yeah.
But if there's a band playing that I really like, I'll go and like stand in the back.
It's a fun place. That was we really had like that shift around 2006 or 7 where Wallingford was really like where Connecticut hardcore. You had all the Hostage Com kids and Make Do and Mend and
there was the other place where Hostage Com played, or no, where no, your band, the fucking.
Which one? Risk Taken?
No, the other one you were just talking about that you played in fucking briefly. God damn it. With Honor.
With Honor, yeah.
They played that reunion show at that other place. That wasn't a VFW. It was like the It was the VFW because there's the American Legion and then there's the other place.
There was the
on the green.
There was the Knights of Columbus.
The Knights of Columbus.
Yeah.
I remember that show where they built the fucking stage for that reunion, and that was huge.
Yeah, that was Risk Taken played that too, and that was. I had just posted a photo of that. I found a photo recently that was 10 years ago now, but there was a blizzard that night. It was Life in Your Way, With Honor, Risk Taken, Wrench in the Works, Our Final Say, and. Total blizzard, no pre-sale on this shit. This wasn't like the way people do stuff even now. But we sold out in the middle of a blizzard. It was like 650 kids.
That's amazing.
How fucking cool that is for just a couple Connecticut bands to get together and have 650 kids pack out a place like that and no sound system.
Nothing.
Fucking breakers blowing all the time. I had some of my favorite shows at that Knights of Columbus. There was a Risk Taken, 100 Demons, Give Up the Ghost.
That was my benefit show for getting out of prison.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, exactly.
Sex Positions.
Yeah, Sex Positions.
Yeah.
That show was fucking awesome.
Yeah.
Also, one of the most violent shows I've ever been to in my life.
I remember I had just gotten out of prison maybe like 2 weeks before, and I
remember that because it was just like your back or whatever was the flyer.
Yeah, and the pins.
Yep.
I remember not you're in prison. You're not drinking in prison. Yeah. I remember getting out and everybody I knew wanted to buy me a drink, and I wasn't even a drinker back then. I used hard narcotics, but I was like, fuck it, I'm not going to turn down drinking. So people would buy me a beer, and then somebody would buy me a shot of Hypnotic, and then somebody bought me another shot of this tequila, and I remember just being so fucking trashed at my own benefit, and then I can't remember what happened after
so
that.
You were out at that point? You were at that show?
Yeah.
You just gotten out?
I just got out 2 weeks prior.
Nice.
I think I'm mixing two different things because, no, I wasn't. I remember I had a couple of drinks that night, but I wasn't totally sloshed. And they gave me the money of the benefit. They paid out. They paid all the bands, and they gave me $500. And it's giving somebody $500, or they gave me more than that. They gave me $1,000. And I remember
that show was packed,
dude.
It did well.
They gave me $1,000, and I brought a bunch of my friends to eat sushi at some place down the road. And when you go to a sushi place, you can get one of those boats with 70 pieces of sushi.
Yeah.
Dude, this is back when Pete was in the height of he was training and lifting a lot of weights.
Yep.
He I bought him one of those. It was $70, and I just remember him picking like the pieces of sushi off of it. And I bought everybody. I brought like 20 people there. I blew like $500, and then I took the other $500 that they gave me, and me and my friend Brad Snow went and fucking smoked crack and got high on dope all night. And
That's
then I woke
crazy,
up.
man.
I woke up the next morning, all the money was gone.
That's
And
fucking crazy.
Now thinking back on it, I was like, why would you give me that money? Like you knew what the fuck I was
try
gonna
to
do
help
with
you
it.
out. Yeah, for sure.
Get back on your feet, bro. I remember Wes. Everybody flew. People threw in for like clothes for me. Somebody bought me a brand new pair of like emerald green Air Force One high tops, and everyone was making fun of me, calling them green boots. And then Wes bought me like this sparkly like dress shirt, and then a couple other people like gave me like a Levi's jean jacket, and I had them all on at the same time.
Dude, I fucking remember that. I actually remember
crazy
that.
as
Yeah.
fuck. And just moshing like an asshole, being really fucking super aggressive and mean to people.
Man,
But I was getting that confused with like there was a New Year's Eve party at like Brass City Tattoo where I got really fucking drunk, and they made me leave, and no one talked to me for like 3 months
Jesus.
because I was just totally out of hand. I started crying.
So what year? 2005?
I think this was
2006?
2004.
2004. Okay.
I think because I went to prison in 2003, spent 9 months there, got out, and it had changed into 2004. Yeah, so that show was in 2004.
That thing was classic. I always remember that
Dude,
being.
that was 13 years ago.
That's fucking nuts.
That's a long time, dude.
Yeah, that
That's
is a long
real
time.
And it's funny to think that like you obviously like do what you do now. You fucking record awesome bands, and you like moved up in your craft, and like I did what I did. But there's probably still people that were at that show that are still doing the same thing, listening to the same bands, like all like
Dude, bless 'em.
hardcore dudes that
Yeah.
just never changed. You know what I mean?
Yeah, bless him. That that show really stuck with me because I remember there was so many fights. That was at like the peak where stuff was like getting really violent. I feel like it died down and it's like coming back a little. But I remember the walls were just had blood on them. You
Yeah.
remember that? Like they were
Yeah.
just like so many fucking people got their asses beat.
Yeah.
Like, the walls and the floor just had blood.
I remember I was so pissed off because that would have been American Nightmare's last show.
Mm-hmm.
And then whatever, 10 years went by, and then they played a reunion, and I was like, fuck, I wanted my jail show to be their last show. And then they played that show in Revere like maybe like, what was it, 5-6 years ago?
Yeah.
And dude, that was probably one of the most insane like visions of hardcore, like what hardcore could be. Like I remember people like running off the stage and not hitting the ground and going all the way to the back of the venue. There were so many people there. Ryan Gosling was there.
It's fucking insane. Is that true? Is that a true
Yeah.
thing? Because you see that online. You never
He was
know.
hanging out. The dude likes hardcore music. He was fucking hanging out. Yeah,
That's
it was
awesome.
Fucking crazy. I just remember just like hanging out with everybody in the back. Like, dude, this is like the epitome of American hardcore right now.
Yeah.
And then now they just play like every once in a while they'll like play a show, but that was like their first show back, and it was fucking crazy.
That's awesome.
It was so cool to be a part of, because I remember like they just like I forget what song it was, but like, you know that one song and they just ring out, it's like and you can just see dudes getting ready, and like Wes is like jumping in a circle, then it goes is all that we ever had. That
Yeah,
song.
yeah,
What
yeah,
fucking
yeah.
song was
That's
that?
the first song on.
And I remember I was filming and everything looked so sick. And like an idiot, I just caught like 8 seconds. Like I could have kept it going.
And just had
And
this
just
like,
had like
moment in
this
history.
awesome thing. And I just remember people, dude, there were so many people fucking stage diving. And it was just like insanity. It was nothing any bouncer could have held back. Like there wasn't even any security. They were like away because they knew they couldn't. It was like trying to hold back the fucking sea. It was crazy. It was so crazy. There wasn't even a mosh pit because there was so many people. People were just packed and people were just stage diving everywhere.
That's fucking. Those are the best shows, though.
That was the best hardcore.
Yeah.
Like I've had young experiences when I was younger and like coming up, but to stand on stage and watch what was going on, that was like one of the most powerful experiences I've ever had.
There's also something cool to be said about, you know, you got a little bit of video, 8 seconds or whatever, and then, you know, you're sad you didn't get more, but at the same time, you lived it. You know, like there's a time period where people weren't pulling out, like I'm not at the show for the Instagram post.
Yeah.
I'm not at the show
Totally.
for this YouTube video.
It was
or
literally
this,
the first
You're just
iPhone.
there and you're just like
Yeah.
fucking living it and you're experiencing it, and it's just like imprinted on who you are now.
Mm-hmm.
And you're not just viewing it through a rectangle, you know.
I'm glad because I just made the switch from Sidekick to iPhone, and I wouldn't have been able to get that video with the Sidekick.
I had one of those sidekicks too.
Oh, dude, I had like every single one. I had the one. Remember, you were cool if you got the one that just went up and didn't flip. It was just two up.
Yeah, I never saw that one.
A bunch of people threw in for
I
that
had
for
the
my
flip one.
30th birthday,
Nice.
dude, 10 years ago.
It's fucking crazy. That's crazy.
And it seems like it was just fucking yesterday.
Yeah, I remember having the sidekick, and I remember not even figuring out all the stuff that it could do.
There was so much weird shit you could do with
And
it.
like I'm still the same way with the iPhone. It doesn't matter. Like the technology's changing so fast. I don't even know all the shit. Somebody's like, "Oh, you use the health app or whatever," and I was like, "Oh, I've
No.
never even looked at that shit."
I
You
just
know?
started using the file one. Did you do
No,
your new
I've-
update? There's a thing where you can save a file. So for that test I was telling you about,
Yeah.
there's like a PDF, like 1,000-page PDF. It's like a study guide. And I figured every time I study, I have to take my computer out, turn it on, and go through the PDF. And then I saw that. I was like, let me see. I put it on my phone. So I'm like, I'm on my phone all the time. Now I can study with my phone, you know, and I just like, shoot,
Yeah.
go through all the questions. Yeah, it's fucking weird, man.
That's
It's one of
crazy.
the new widgets on there. Files.
Yeah, I always miss this kind of stuff. Like I'm just like, oh, it's got a better camera or whatever. But
Dude, my girlfriend, I always watch her like use her iPhone, and like she does like these crazy things where she like clicks into messages and views them in a different area, and I'm just like,
it's
like,
just not for us.
it's not, I don't understand
It's
it.
not we're past the point of that.
Rudimentary operations,
Yeah.
phone, all Instagram, like all that shit. But she's kind of like way more computer savvy than me. She does like graphic
Yeah.
design and stuff. But you know what, man? We made history. We're at an hour and 6 minutes. And I think we covered a lot of good stuff.
Nice.
You're actually in the middle of a recording session right now, and your clients went and had dinner, right?
Yeah. I should mention this is band Voices in Vain from Vermont. I just mentioned it just because they were nice enough to let me,
Thank
escape
you,
out
guys.
here and come
Thank you
here.
for
So,
lending
yeah.
his time to us.
Yeah, for sure. I appreciate you having me on.
Hey,
so.
anytime, man. We'll have you back too.
Yeah, for sure.
I'm gonna start doing like round tables of like 4 or 5 different people and just
That'd be
like
great.
talk about crazy shit.
Yeah,
we'll
that'd
have
be
you
great,
back.
man.
That'd be awesome. Anybody you want to say hi to? Anything you want to plug? Talk about your studio.
I guess I'll mention the studio, Silver Bullet Studios, silverbulletstudios.com, Silver Bullet Studios on Facebook and Instagram and stuff like that. And we're working all the time with hardcore punk bands, indie rock bands, everything. So I guess I'll just mention that. And
That's it.
I guess I'll, if I have like a second, I'll just some of the records that we're working on right now. Just
Do it,
shout out
dude.
a couple bands. We're
Fucking totally.
doing recording a record for this band called Heavens Die from Virginia. Fucking crushing heavy
I've heard of that band before.
Doing a record for this band called Separated from Long Island. Very cool, heavy band as well, hardcore band. And this band Church Tongue from Indiana. We do a lot of we don't actually record that much Connecticut stuff anymore. The band in right now is from Vermont.
Mm-hmm.
Those bands, Virginia, Long Island, Indiana. So if anybody's listening that's from Connecticut and you want to record, I like to support local music. I prefer that.
Yeah.
But respect to all these guys. There's some cool bands.
That's awesome.
So
you got a pretty far reach. That's awesome, dude.
yeah, it's been going. The last few years have been all right for us, and I'm thankful for it. So
Fuck yeah, man. Everybody give him a fucking follow on Instagram, Black Freighter.
yeah, Black Freighter.
Where'd you pull that from, Aliens?
That's from the old comic Watchmen. If you
Oh, okay.
remember Watchmen.
Yeah.
There's if you read that, there's a comic within the comic with his kids reading about this phantom ship that's pirate ship that's coming back to destroy a town. That's the Black Freighter. So
That's awesome.
I've had that handle since I probably first read Watchmen 15, 16, 17 years ago, whatever the hell. So
Don't ever change it.
yeah,
It's
keep
cool.
It's just not professional at all. Everybody's trying to look up Greg Thomas or something. It's nah, it's a comic book thing.
No,
It's been there forever. So
Keep it that way, man. Well, I thank you for coming by, man.
yeah. Thanks for having me again. It was
All right.
awesome.
Greg Thomas, everybody.
All right, thank you.
You got it.
Hi, my name is Alaska. I will be your life want to be if you follow my simple steps. Check it out, yo.
Crush, kill, destroy, stress. Burn yourself alive and die and hit refresh. Get your Phoenix on. You could be a dawn. Some could meet a breather and get your breathing on. Maybe read a book on your Kindle Nook. Take a week antiquing up in Kinderhook. You could be hella bland, bro. Especially if you plan to go commando. Bump Darius Rucker, Hootie and the Blowfish, you know this motherfucker. Drink a little bit of Lowenbrow. Hang out with an older crowd. Watch a CBS drama or a comedy. Eat biscotti and maybe have a spot of tea. One up the government's hypocrisy and make bad calls like your man Ed Hockley. Life ain't easy, we're all professionals. Bull by the horn, life by the testicles. Just some words of wisdom you could live on, my guess. And you could be the man with my plan for success. You could be the man with my plan for success. You could be the man with my plan for success. You could be the man with my plan for success. I said you could be the man with my plan for success. Crush, kill, destroy, stress. Rock dockers with an Oxford and a fleece vest. Vineyard vines unwind and regress. Want a timely demise, no more or no less. Don't let me get decrepit or make a whack record. Pull the plug if you must, you'll find no objections. Sign a D&R while playing G&R. Upload my S's to an unlabeled CDR. Grow old and have a bratty kid and play Mad Lib while playing Mad Libs. I still play madness. Our house, our address. Art is so arduous. Let's just have online arguments. Twitter flame wars till your brain pours out your eyes and you die from incompetence. Life ain't easy, we're all professionals. Bull by the horn, life by the testicles. Just some words of wisdom you could live on, my guess. And you could be the man with my plan for success. You could be the man with my plan for success. And you could be the man with my plan for success. You could be the man with my plan for success. I said you could be the man with my plan for success. Crush, kill, destroy, stress. Get the Sunday Times and watch Meet the Press. No nuance, clip coupons. Have a salad with no croutons. Try that new fad diet, B. Join a cult, but not Scientology. And if you're living bored, start a vision board. That'll solve your problems, find you balled up on the kitchen floor. Yo, you should watch John Waters. Collect kitchen, build a wall at the border. Download apps and place online orders. A Spotify playlist you made for your daughters. And you could be a modern man. Go and get your shirts monogrammed. These are all simple life hacks, and no lie, they'll fix what your life lacks. Life ain't easy, we're all professionals. Bull by the horn, life by the testicles. Just some words of wisdom you could live on, my guess. And you could be the man with my plan for success.
To win this, we're in the finals. We get a big lead, we gotta pummel these guys. We gotta pummel them at all costs, dominate, and hammer them. I want you to play dirty if you have to, but don't get caught.